Okay, real talk. Every single football channel on this planet has made the exact same video this summer. Top players to watch. And they all show you the same five guys. Mbappé, Yamal, Haaland, Vinicius, Messi because apparently he's contractually immortal at this point. Cool, great. We all know those guys are good. You don't need me to tell you that Erling Haaland is tall and scores goals. That's like telling you water is wet. This video is different. We're talking about the guys who walked into this World Cup as a name in the squad list that casual fans skip past, and some of them have already started walking out of it as the reason their team is making a run nobody saw coming, the breakout stars. The guys who, if you didn't know them last week, you are going to be very smug about pretending you called it by the quarterfinals. 7 players. Every single one of them has a reason, a loan move, a manager's decision, an award nobody outside their league noticed, something that's basically opened a door for them to walk through and become a household name. So buckle up, because by the end of this video, you're either going to thank me or you're going to be furious that I made you care about a player you'd never heard of 2 weeks ago. Let's get into it. We're starting with the one guy on this list who, honestly, shouldn't even be a surprise pick, and that's exactly the problem. Endrick spent the first half of this season at Real Madrid getting basically 0 minutes. Then it got worse. A serious hamstring injury wiped out his Club World Cup, and by the time he was fit again, he dropped to 5th in the pecking order, behind a teenager nobody had heard of a year earlier. Genius management, absolute football logic at its finest. So in January, with his Real Madrid career going absolutely nowhere and his World Cup spot evaporating in real time, Endrick made the move, out the door, on loan, to Lyon. And to his credit, he didn't sulk about it. He just packed his bags and got to work. And then he went off. 8 goals, 8 assists, 16 goal contributions in 21 matches, instantly looking like the player Madrid thought they were signing back when they paid 60 million euros for a teenager. Here's the thing people are missing. Endrick didn't just go score goals in France. He reminded Carlo Ancelotti he existed at exactly the right moment, and he's on the plane. For Brazil, who right now have so much attacking talent, they're basically rationing it. Having a guy who can come off the bench and just instantly change the geometry of the attack is gold. And yeah, in Brazil's opening match against Morocco, Endrick didn't get a single minute, not one. But we genuinely believe Carlo Ancelotti has to give him a real chance after that draw. A team that just dropped points against Morocco doesn't get to sit on a guy who came back from Lyon averaging a goal contribution every other game. That's a mistake waiting to be corrected. Alright, raise your hand if you'd heard of Yan Diomandé before this tournament started. No? Cool. Well, raise it now, because he's already done the thing. Diomandé spent this season at RB Leipzig, and he didn't just have a good season, he flat out won Bundesliga Rookie of the Season. That's not some made up stat, that's an actual league award telling you this 19-year-old was the best young player in one of the toughest leagues in Europe. And then Ivory Coast opened their World Cup against Ecuador, a team that walked in unbeaten in 19 matches, and Diomandé just tortured them. Most touches in the opposition box of anyone on the pitch, most chances created, most progressive carries. He was named man of the match in his own World Cup debut against a defense that had barely conceded a goal in qualifying. Amad Diallo got the actual winner in the 99th minute, sure, but everyone who watched that game knows exactly who wore Ecuador's backline down for 90 minutes straight. This is a left-footed winger who plays like he's allergic to standing still. Quick, direct, loves cutting inside onto that boot and just going straight at people, which against defenders who'd never faced him before kickoff is basically a cheat code. There's no scouting report, there's no, oh I know his move, he just runs at you and you're already cooked. And the wildest part is, this isn't even a surprise to anyone paying attention. He's already being linked with Liverpool as their long-term answer on the right wing. One World Cup group game in, and Diomandé's gone from wait, who? To the most talked about teenager at the entire tournament. Keep watching because Ivory Coast clearly aren't done with him yet. Okay, now this one needs a slightly different story than you might expect, so stick with me. Nico Paz has been one of the most exciting attacking midfielders in Europe this season. Como, in Serie A, basically built their entire identity around letting this kid do whatever he wants in the final third, and it worked. Vision, that little pause before he plays the killer pass, the calmness on the ball, genuinely looks like he's been doing this for a decade, not like a guy who's barely in his 20s. Now here's the twist. Going into the tournament, there was real panic in the Argentina camp. Paz picked up a knee fracture in May, missed the end of his club season, and for a minute it genuinely looked like he might not even make the squad. Julian Alvarez was also nursing an ankle problem he'd been playing through with pain-killing injections. 2 of Argentina's most important attacking pieces, both banged up, right before the World Cup. That's the kind of headline that makes Albiceleste fans want to throw their phone across the room. But, and this is the part that makes Paz's story even better, both of them recovered. Scaloni came out and said it himself. Paz is available, no concerns over Alvarez, they're both fine. Which means Paz didn't sneak into the 11 because someone else got hurt. He earned his spot in the World Cup squad at 21 years old, fully fit, fighting for minutes in a team that already has Messi, Alvarez and Lautaro all healthy and ready. That's actually a harder thing to do than just inheriting a role from an injured teammate. He's there on merit, in the deepest, most stacked attacking group at this entire World Cup. If Scaloni gives him even rotational minutes behind that front line, Paz at a major tournament with Messi pulling defenders' attention is exactly the kind of matchup nightmare that turns a promising young player into a name people are still talking about in 4 years. Alright, this next one is the how did everyone just forget about this guy pick. Donyell Malen. You probably remember him as a Borussia Dortmund player who had flashes of brilliance but also had that reputation. You know the one. Talented but inconsistent. Great in patches, all those polite ways of saying, we're not totally sure what we're getting tonight. He'd moved on to Aston Villa, and then in January, he made the switch to Roma, and something just clicked. 14 goals in 18 Serie A matches after the move. 14 in half a season. That's not a hot streak, that's a complete reinvention. He's quicker than most defenders want to deal with, he can finish with either foot, and he's been playing with a level of confidence that looks like a completely different player from the one who couldn't nail down a starting spot at Dortmund. And here's why this matters for the Netherlands specifically. Ronald Koeman has named him in the squad alongside Memphis Depay and Cody Gakpo, and Dutch squads are never short on attacking talent. There's always a conveyor belt of wingers and forwards, but a guy who's currently scoring nearly a goal a game right before the tournament starts is exactly the kind of player a manager can't justify leaving on the bench. Form is form, and right now, Malen's form is screaming for minutes. If the Netherlands need a spark, or even a starting spot opens up, Malen is in the best shape of his career at exactly the right time. Don't be surprised if this is the tournament where the rest of the football world finally catches up to what Roma fans have known since January. Okay, I love this one, because this guy is basically the human embodiment of no fear, no filter. And the story behind how he's even 80 this World Cup is wild on its own. Esmir Bajraktarovic was born in Wisconsin, came up through the New England Revolution Academy, and actually represented the United States at youth level, and even got a senior US MNT cap. Then he switched allegiances to Bosnia and Herzegovina, the country his parents fled to America from as refugees, and in March, in the playoff final against four-time world champions Italy, with the game tied and going to penalties, it was Bajraktarovic who stepped up and slammed home the winning spot kick that sent Bosnia to their first World Cup since 2014. He scored the actual goal that got his country here. 21 years old, plays for PSV Eindhoven, just helped them win the Eredivisie, and has been an absolute live wire all season. And when I say fearless, I don't mean the generic, oh he's confident way commentators always describe young players. This is a guy with a track record of attempting Rabonas and no-look penalties in matches that actually matter. The kind of player who sees a high-pressure moment and thinks showtime instead of feeling his stomach drop. Bosnia have one of the oldest captains at this entire World Cup in 40-year-old Edin Dzeko, playing in what's almost certainly his last tournament, and they need someone with actual pace and unpredictability to create for him. That's Bajraktarovic's job. He's already a national hero before kicking a single ball at the World Cup itself. Now imagine what happens if he produces a moment like that at the tournament. Remember the name now, because Bosnia's entire dream of reaching the knockout rounds for the first time ever might run directly through him. This next one is for everyone who loves a good underdog story, because Al-Tamari is playing for a country that's doing something it has never done before in its entire history, and that's exactly why he's on this list. Al-Tamari plays for Rennes in League One, so don't sleep on him just because Jordan isn't a name you're used to seeing at a World Cup. He's playing actual top 5 league football every week, and this season he posted 7 goals and 11 assists in 36 appearances. He's Jordan's captain, their record scorer in this qualifying campaign with 7 more goals in Asian qualifying alone, and he is, without question, the single most important attacking player in Jordan's first ever World Cup appearance. Let that sink in. Jordan, first World Cup ever. And the guy carrying a huge chunk of that responsibility plays League One football and has been quietly cooking defenders for fun all season. The thing about players from nations making their World Cup debut is the pressure dynamic is completely flipped. The big European stars are expected to perform. If Mbappé doesn't score, it's a disappointing tournament. But if Altamari has one big game, scores a wonder goal, sets up a winner against a team that's supposedly miles better on paper, that's not just a good game, that's a moment that gets replayed in Jordan for the next 50 years. Genuinely the kind of thing that ends up on a stamp. And here's the cruel twist that makes this even spicier. Jordan's group stage finale is against defending champions Argentina. Messi against Jordan's Messi, as they call Altamari back home. If he's going to have his signature World Cup moment, there's a decent chance it happens on the exact same pitch as the actual Messi. You could not script a better stage for an underdog story if you tried. And the number one pick on this list is going to feel like a curveball, because we're not talking about a breakout star here. We're talking about a 35-year-old World Cup winning, Premier League and Champions League winning certified legend, who casual fans are still going to overlook at this tournament. That's the whole point. N'Golo Kante, still smiling, still doing the exact same job he's been doing for over a decade, quietly covering every blade of grass, breaking up attacks before they even start, and making the players around him look better just by existing next to them. The man does not do flashy. He does not do stepovers. He just shows up, wins the ball back over and over again, and somehow always looks like he's having the time of his life doing it. He's currently playing his club football at Fenerbahce in Turkey, of all places, which honestly tells you everything about how little this guy cares about glamour. He just goes wherever he can keep playing at a level that gets him picked for France. Here's why he's number one. Every single channel, including, let's be honest, the rest of this video, is obsessed with attackers. Goals get clicks, wingers get highlight reels. Nobody makes a "this 35-year-old defensive midfielder is going to decide the World Cup" video, because on paper it sounds boring. But ask anyone who's actually played football at a high level what the most valuable player on the pitch looks like. And a huge number of them will describe exactly this guy, the one who never gets mentioned in post-match interviews, but who every single attacker on the team quietly depends on to win the ball back and hand it to them in space. And for France specifically, a team absolutely loaded with attacking talent, Mbappé, Dembele, Olise, Barcola, all the names everyone else is already covering. The difference between that attack functioning at world class versus frustratingly inconsistent often comes down to whether the midfield is actually winning the ball back cleanly enough to launch those attacks in the first place. Deschamps brought Kante back into the fold specifically because France didn't have anyone else who could do this job, and that tells you everything about how much they need him. He's the engine room nobody photographs. If France go all the way this summer, I promise you, when people look back at the tournament with actual football knowledge, not just goal tallies, Kante's name is going to come up again and again as the reason the team functioned. Sometimes the biggest surprise of a World Cup isn't a new name, it's everyone finally remembering on the biggest stage there is, just how good the unglamorous guy in the middle actually is.